Hi, this is Ketki from 91mobiles.com, and today we have the Sony Xperia T2 Ultra Dual for review. This is Sony's latest phablet. It's a mid-range phablet. What sets the phablet apart from the others in its category is its large 6-inch display. 6 inches is on the higher side for a smartphone, but the Xperia T2 Ultra is quite slim. It measures 7.65 mm in thickness and it's made out of plastic, which makes it weigh 172 grams. While the plastic construction is good to keep the weight down, it is a glossy plastic and it tends to pick up smudges and scratches quite easily. The phablet features Sony's signature omnibalance design, which means it's quite angular with rounded edges. The front is taken up almost entirely by the display. The Xperia T2 Ultra features on-screen Android navigation keys. On top you'll find the 1.1 megapixel camera, a proximity light and light sensor, a notification LED, and a earpiece hidden behind a metallic grille. At the bottom you have an identical metallic grille, and this conceals the main microphone. On the back panel you'll find the 13 megapixel primary camera with LED flash at the bottom, a secondary microphone right here which is used for noise cancelling purposes, an NFC sticker here, and at the bottom you have the loudspeaker concealed by a metallic strip. There's chrome detailing on the sides. Now there aren't any ports at the top and the bottom. On the left side you'll find a micro USB 2.0 port for charging and data transfers, a micro SD card slot which is behind this flap. On the right you have the 3.5 mm audio jack, another flap here which conceals the SIM cards. You have Sony's signature power button here, a volume rocker, and a dedicated camera key. The Xperia T2 feels quite light to hold. It's not unwieldy, unlike other 6-inch phablets. It runs Android 4.3 Jelly Bean with Sony's custom Xperia UI on top. Sony's UI isn't as overpowering as those from some other brands like Samsung's TouchWiz, but it does bring in a fair bit of customization. You'll see that most of the icons are different. If you swipe to the left, you'll get a sidebar where you can manage all your apps with shortcuts to the Play Store and Sony Select. You get a couple of preloaded apps as well, such as PlayStation Mobile, Social Life News, Track ID, and Office Suite. Hitting the Recents key will bring up something called Small Apps. Now we've seen this feature before on other Sony smartphones. What it essentially does is bring up small floating windows of apps which you can move around, and you can run these on top of full screen apps and multitask. There are a few customizations to make it easy for one-handed usage. Double tapping the home button will bring the notification bar to the bottom of the display. You can dock the keyboard to the left or right for one-handed usage. Simply go into keyboard settings, and here you can dock it either to the left or to the right. The dial pad is also centered to make it easy to dial numbers with one hand. The Xperia T2 Ultra is powered by a 1.4 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 400 processor with 1 GB of RAM. This isn't the most high-end Qualcomm processor, but it does the job. Apps open quite quickly, and the phone very rarely slows down or displays any lag. When opening and using the camera application, we did notice freezes sometimes, but apart from that, performance was smooth and the phone never overheated while we used it. There's an Adreno 305 GPU on board as well. Let's open up Riptide GB2. The game loads reasonably fast. This is a graphic intensive game. So the 6-inch screen makes it ideal for gaming because it doesn't feel too cramped at all. As you can see, the graphics are relayed beautifully. There's no lag and no jitter. The Xperia T2 Ultra features a 13 megapixel primary camera. Now, being a Sony phone, the camera app is quite loaded. By default, the camera shoots in superior auto mode. Now this brings up a variety of scenes which the camera automatically chooses depending on the situation. But in superior auto, you'll only get 8 megapixel shots. For the full 13 megapixel, you have to go into manual mode. There are a couple of other themes available as well, such as time shift burst, AR effect, portrait retouch, and background defocus. Now the results in daylight are very pleasing. As you can see, images are sharp and bright, with color reproduction being quite good as well. Images are not too oversaturated, and sharpness is good too. Let's look at the same image taken in background defocus mode. So you can see how the background is beautifully blurred using the mode. You have to keep the camera quite still while using background defocus because it has a hard time creating this effect if there's any movement at all. The front camera in comparison isn't so great. in low light images are very grainy, and it's just about usable for video calls. If you're planning to take selfies with the camera, we suggest you look elsewhere. The T2 Ultra has a 3000 mAh battery. We found the battery life to be really good. It lasted us about a day and a half with heavy usage, and we're sure you could stretch it to 2 days with moderate usage. Being a dual SIM phone, this T2 Ultra has dual SIM active technology, which means it keeps both networks active simultaneously. So if you're making a call on one SIM, you'll be able to receive calls on the other. Overall, for its asking price of Rs 25,990, the Sony Xperia T2 Ultra Dual isn't bad for a phablet. Your only concern will probably be the large size, but if you're in the market for a large screen smartphone, you should definitely consider this.